Hi, I'm Dan Veall, and it's that time once again in Bass Gear magazine when we check out yet another cool piece of bass gear. And in this review, the piece of gear in question is the Fender Player Plus Jazz bass. This is a 2023 model, and as usual we'll go up to the headstock, work down the instrument, check out some of the specifications, and of course some of the great tones that we can conjure up out of this superb jazz bass. The Fender Player Plus Jazz bass has a maple neck. This particular model has a maple fretboard. We'll look at that in more detail as we work down the instrument. But up at the headstock end of business, we have 4 open gear tuning keys. And I really love how the silvery logo looks superb with the chrome hardware. Working down the neck, we have a standard 38mm nut, and this is made of synthetic bone. Round the front of the neck we have a 12-inch radius maple fingerboard with black dot markers, and down the edge I can feel that the fretwork has been installed very neatly and there are no sharp edges. Furthermore, on the Plus models we also have a rolled neck. This means that the edges have been shaped for more comfort for the hand, and the bass feels a little bit more lived in and a little bit more comfortable, and there's no square edges to dig into the side of your hands. Very nice touch indeed. Let's flip the bass over and we'll have a look at the back of the neck, and at this angle we can see the open gear tuning keys, and as we come down the back of the neck we can see that we have an all satin finish. This is going to be absolutely brilliant for those who complain about glossy finishes being too sticky. Also at this angle hopefully you can make out the neck has a modern C carve, and this feels very comfortable in the hand for long periods of playing. Whilst we are down the back of the neck, I've changed to my close camera to show off this absolutely beautiful finish. So the Player Plus models come in different color choices, and this particular one is the Sienna Burst. And I love this because you can see the wood grain through the finish. Now I've had to choose my angle carefully because this finish is so glossy it's showing up and reflecting everything else in my studio, which is kind of less pretty to look at. But hopefully this close-up angle you can see we've got a really tasteful finish. Up in the top corner we have 2 compartments, one for each of the 9-volt batteries, which is going to power the active preamp, which we're going to look at in just a moment. And in true Fender style, of course, we have a bolt-on neck and we have a 4-bolt plate with the F logo. Whilst we're also here, you can also see that we've got a skunk stripe down the back of the neck for where the truss rod is inserted. And I just think it's just a really tasteful look. I don't mind if it's not there, but I don't know. I kind of like having a skunk stripe there. Looks sort of awesome. Let's flip the bass over and we'll get on to look at some of the electronics and get some sounds out of this bad boy. Around the front of the bass on the fingerboard we also have a satin finish. Unlike the Player Precision bass I reviewed recently that has a glossy fingerboard. That's completely down to you which you prefer, and I think on this particular instrument with the color choices the satin finish just looks super nice. Working down onto the body and the pickup side of things, we have a 3-ply black pickguard on this model. On the Veall Ferro fretboard instruments we actually have a mint coloured pickguard. That's also a 3-ply type. Fender's noiseless jazz pickups go in the standard jazz positions, and I believe this is in the 60s position. And then down onto electronics. This is where things get a little bit different versus your usual passive jazz bass. We have a master volume control here. Instead of having a second volume control, do you know what? I actually really prefer this. I like having one master, and this is a pan. So from a center click position, I can pan towards the front pickup and have more of that sound, or from the center click position, I can come back towards the rear pickup and have more of that sound. The two knobs here, we have a double stack here of bass and treble. These are active from a center click position. We can boost and cut our bass and treble frequencies. And finally, the control down here is again another active control for my mid-range, and I can boost from a center click and cut from a center click. And with these three incredibly powerful controls, this bass can go from a subby, deep slap bass tone to something more punchy and in your face with the rear pickup engaged. And finally, on a close-up, this little switch down here, which enables and disables the active circuit, so we can have a passive sound when this is switched out. Not only do the Player Plus series basses come with Fender noiseless pickups, but we also have an upgraded bridge here in the shape of the Fender High Mass model. This nice chunky beast still looks super tasteful on the instrument and doesn't look overbearing against the rest of the hardware. Super nice. Strung up with Fender strings, this bass sounds absolutely fantastic. Let's get into some tones. I have switched the bass into passive mode by using the little switch down on the control panel here. I've set the pan control so that both pickups are on at a 50-50 blend, volume all the way up, and this is a little bit of slap style. The pickups in passive mode have still got a nice depth to them, and I wouldn't call these necessarily a vintage tone. There's probably a bit more of a modern vibe to them, where there's a low-end bloom through my system and maybe a little bit of scoop in them as well. What it gives me is a really nice balanced tone, and straight into studio monitors, I'm finding that in order to get a nice balanced sound, I'm doing very little in terms of adding equalization. So this is a really nice, as I said, balanced sounding pickup. Let's hear the front pickup on its own, and I'll grab a plectrum and we'll dig in a little bit for a slightly more gritty sound. Pulling the pan control all the way anti-clockwise, not only are we going to hear the bridge pickup, but I'm going to play over the top of it as well for a slightly more biting sound, fingerstyle. Things get super juicy when we engage the active circuit. We're finding more and more on active preamplifiers, there's a lot of boost and cut to be had from a small movement on each of the controls. So I have engaged the circuit, I've added a little bit of bass boost, some treble boost, and cut the mids away just a little bit to fatten up that slap bass sound. Here we go. as a massive precision bass fan, one of the things I love to do with any bass is to see if I can get some plummy P bass kind of sounds out of a jazz bass. So in this case, I'm favouring the front pickup. I've pushed those mids up really high, a little bit of bass boost, lots of treble. I've dumped the bass down into drop D tuning and I'm going to hit it with a plectrum. Let's see what this sounds like. Now, of course, I could spend way more time conjuring up tones from this really tasty instrument, but I'm going to suggest that you go out and try these Player Plus models for yourself to really find out if they suit your needs and your playing style. As you can hear in the video, they're so flexible, and I was able to get a wide range of sounds out of just this bass without using any effects, not touching any amp settings or anything like that. So this one I really think is going to be a good one for you to put on your shopping list. As always, there is a written review to go with this video as well, so head on over to Bass Gear magazine to have a look at that for some more details about the Player Plus range. But for now, thanks ever so much for watching. I've been Dan Veall and you've been watching Bass Gear magazine.